Yeah, and then we used to play the pinball machine, pinball wizard. And I remember we were always leave the place with one of these ashtrays, you know, because they had like for each speaker had a ashtray. And so as we came with our muffin, we had our muffins in our hands, was always an ashtray. So we're making collection of the different ashtrays. How come you don't recognize my face? That's me.
Scary sometimes.
Yeah, they have all my biometrics, fingerprint and face recognition. So Google knows me. Or even worse, because I have a Chinese spy phone away. So the Chinese know me. We love China. China very good.
You'll have a FBI agent coming to your door now.
Yes, yes. Well, according to Jane Carroll, it's quite impressive experience to have the FBI coming at your door. I recall, you know, story when you were applying for the foundation, the 501c3, that two Agent Smith and Agent Smith, like came to ask questions. You know, so you know you're okay, but you're not. You know. Okay, are we rolling live?
Mhm.
Wonderful. So I have to be serious now. I know it's boring, but you know, sometime we have to do it. So hope you don't mind. I will remove this mask so my phone will recognize me uh, while we recite. Okay. So good morning, everybody. Good morning, the universe uh, out there. Let's begin by taking refuge and generating the four immeasurables. Until I have reached full awakening, I take refuge in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By means of beneficial actions such as generosity, may I attain enlightenment in order to benefit beings. Until I have reached full awakening, I take refuge in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By means of beneficial actions such as generosity, may I attain enlightenment in order to benefit beings. Until I have reached full awakening, I take refuge in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By means of beneficial actions such as generosity, may I attain enlightenment in order to benefit beings. May all beings find happiness in the cause of happiness. May they be free from suffering in the cause of suffering. May they not be separated from the perfect happiness that is free from suffering. May they abide in great equanimity, free from attachment and aversion to those near and far. May all beings find happiness in the cause of happiness. May they be free from suffering in the cause of suffering. May they not be separated from the perfect happiness that is free from suffering. May they abide in great equanimity, free from attachment and aversion to those near and far. May all beings find happiness in the cause of happiness. May they be free from suffering and the cause of suffering. May they not be separated from the perfect happiness that is free from suffering. May they abide in great equanimity, free from attachment and aversion to those near and far. Let's begin by taking a moment to appreciate the freedom we have to be here and sit, simply sitting. Our mind is free from the worries of the past or consideration about future, and we really enjoy this present moment fully. In this open moment, time and space, with a free mind, we can notice what is very simply. We notice the contact with the ground and the stability we gain through this contact, whether we're sitting on a chair or directly on the floor. We may have a moment of gratitude for the earth that offers us this very generous support for our life. Our hands can be resting flat, palms down on our thighs, or in a meditation gesture that is the right hand in the left, both resting in the lap. Our back is straight without unnecessary tension. Our shoulders are slightly outstretched so that we make sure our back is not caving. The chin is slightly tucked in, yet the neck remains free. And as we breathe in and out, we notice that our belly becomes more and more relaxed. And if we notice any tension, we let them go and somewhat let our belly drop, so that our breathing becomes deeper. And we begin to sense the center of gravity of our body, which is slightly below the navel. Our mouth is relaxed. The lips may be in a half smile. And the tongue is lightly touching the palate. Our gaze is directed straight ahead, slightly downward, eyes half closed, in a soft and open vision of what is directly in front of us. Alternatively, if we find it more comfortable, we can also keep our eyes closed. Breath comes and goes mostly through our nostrils. There's no need to alter the breath movement, just let it be. Sometimes deep, sometimes shallow, sometimes a bit slower, sometimes quicker. Just notice what is the flow of your breath coming in and going out. Notice the pause in between. As you breathe in, there's a pause. As you breathe out, at the end, there's a pause. The space that opens. Just notice it, maybe abide there for a while. Enjoy the spaciousness, the gap. Of course, thoughts and sense perceptions will arise. The nature of mind is to be cognizant, therefore, this will always happen. We don't need to suppress the thoughts violently to attain some sort of a plain state of a neutral taste. Let your mind be. Just give it a break, but don't follow the thoughts. Don't build up. Just let it arise, notice it, and notice it disappears. And behind the movement of the thoughts, there is space. Just like when a bird flies through your field of vision, just come from one side and disappear into the other side, but there's always the space behind. Relate to the space. Let the movement be. Do not reject them. Do not follow them. It's been said, habits are die hard. So at times we find ourselves caught up in a train of thoughts. When we notice this, we don't need to suppress it. We simply need to let go, disengage. Maybe come back to the breath for a while. Follow the movement. Notice and appreciate the gap. And let your mind take its full dimension of spaciousness and let its quality of awareness shine naturally. Feel free to move, stretch a bit if you need. So today I'd like to continue on our exploration of the guidelines that will help us to stay on the Bodhi path, the path to awakening. And today I'd like to address one specific point that is describing how we lose touch, how we sort of gently drift away from the Bodhi path. And there's 3 points that need to be taken in consideration, that are 3 points that will sort of tether us to the Bodhi path. And if we let them loose, that's how we drift away. And the Bodhi path is like, I guess, like an old marriage. After a while, you take it for granted. First, it's very passionate. And then after a while, it's just a matter of toothbrush and toilet seat and little details of life. And we sort of lose the initial impetus, and we've lost the passion, we've lost the curiosity, we've lost unless we realize that relationship is like gardening. Every day a little bit of TLC, right? And the same with the Bodhi path. The Bodhi path is at the same time very powerful and also very fragile, because it's all about its intention. It's an intention. And of course, this intention will be translated in actions, but it's first and foremost, it's an intention. And so we need to keep this intention alive, in Mahayana, we call it bodhicitta, the enlightened mind attitude. And in the Zen tradition, I like it, they describe it as the way-seeking mind. So there's a sense of curiosity. It's a mind that's never sort of like taking it for granted and, stay as is. And we're sort of like stuck there. There's something as curiosity and the interest in discovering new things and expanding our horizon. So the first thing is to make sure that connection to the teacher, and here teacher means more like school teacher. That means really what the person, whether it is a living person, member of the Sangha, or it is as sort of a primordial teacher, the Buddha himself, as a role model. Let's put it like this. Make sure that we keep the interest, the sort of confidence, the sort of, we could go to a point of saying admiration. I'm a big fan of the Buddha, and the way he decided to, progress towards enlightenment, the ways he found to share his experience that is beyond words and concepts. So the skills, the care, the love, the dedication, 40 years walking across India to meet all sorts of people and putting in place a community that despite the differences and weaknesses of each individual, is still functioning somewhat. The message sort of like passed through 2,500 years. This, for me, this is I'm just like, every time I think about this, I'm like, wow. And then in my heart is, may I sooner or later be able to do the same, So it's not just that I am sort of admirative or a fan of, but it's, for me, it's an inspiration. And, in my own world, at my own scale, how can I implement such a great dedication, service, and introspection, and so on? So the first thing is that, almost I would say on a daily basis, that we keep a freshness of our admiration for the role models and how they inspire us in everyday action. Because if we lose track from these role models, we are left to our own device. We are left to our own aspiration or inspiration, or but the dust of the daily life just covers up everything very quickly, and then we lose the luster, we lose the shine. And so keep the shine alive. That would be everyday task, everyday task. And you know, I guess because I'm a man, so cleaning the house is when it is on my Google agenda. Once a month, we thoroughly clean the house. But every day I can see Wendelin dusting and brooming, you know, and that's why the day that we have to clean is not so hard because there was a daily maintenance. Okay. So I'm very appreciative of that, this quality of attentiveness and care every day. So that's the first point. Keep the admiration, the inspiration that comes from the role model really alive, and do not let it disappear under the dust of daily life. It's extraordinary. Let not the ordinary cover it up. The second point is what makes your body path alive is that you walk the walk, that your practice, that your interest in, here we're talking about mind training as a sort of an essential aspect of the Buddha's message, the Buddha's teaching. The mind training is at the center of your life, every detail of your life. It's an opportunity for you to discover more about yourself, to be more open, have more discernment, to see this discernment grow into wisdom, and see the regular care turn into a vast bodhisattva compassion, and that it's not only a view, it's an action that you really implement this. And so keep your uh, you know lamp trim and burning. Keep your practice and the curiosity in expanding. Don't think that you know all of the Dharma. When you think you know all of the Dharma, that means you're stuck. You keep the desire to expand things. A couple of days ago, my friend Dawa sent me a mail, and he said, I need your input on few things. And he was reading the Body Path, here Body Path as a center curriculum, and the different practices, because he has decided to teach all of the programs on, I don't know, a decade or so in Santa Barbara, to go stage by stage and then teach it. And after people practice it or not, that depends on them, right? But at least that it is clearly exposed. And then he come to a part in the curriculum, which is sort of, I don't know if Rinpoche left it sort of cryptic on purpose. But anyway, study the 3 topics of Vajrayana. So he said, what do you think that is? And I said, no idea. Ask Rachel. Because I can think, if you ask me 3 topics of Vajrayana, I can come up with something. I'm good at that. I make things up, I make up things. So I can do this, no problem. But what Rinpoche meant, just very cryptic words. Okay. Then study the 3 cycle of equal taste, and especially the commentary by the 2nd Shamarpa. Study the teaching on compassion by the 8th Karmapa. And so he asked me, what's that? And I said, no idea. I don't know those texts. And so I asked Rachel, and then I said, poor Rachel, we can't just like dump on her all this. Let's do our job. So it took me 2 days of very, very intensive research. Amen for Google. On internet and so on. And finally, in a very obscure recess of an obscure library, I found the Tibetan texts, Googling in Tibetan to find the Tibetan text, right? So I found the Tibetan text, and here I am. I said, oh, good news, Dawa. I found the Ronyum Kodrup, the 6 cycles of equal taste. teaching by Milarepa to his disciple Rinpoche. And he said to Rinpoche, people are not going to use that, hide it. The heart lineage will find it later. A couple of 100 years later, Tsampa Gyare, one of the Drogpa the spiritual headmasters, found it and then started teaching it. And then the second Shamarpa made a commentary on it, such as also Pema Karpo. And I mean, okay, this is my nerdy thing, short. So I found the Tibetan text, and then I'm like, man, it's not much. It's like 3-4 folios. I will have to translate that, you know. And so I'm awakened from my gentle slumber of like, I know my job. Just by this question, like, hey, buddy, can you help me on that? And so I looked for it. And then I said, like, that rings a bell. You know, I read in Tibetan and said, that rings a bell. And then I just look into my 100,000 books I have on the shelves. And then sure enough, you know, I found the book I had read at some point. And here it is, translated. But not the Shama Rinpoche's commentary. Of course, Rinpoche would not make just that easy that you can use the Padma Kampo. It's going to be fine enough. So I look for the second Chamapa commentary, and I found the Tibetan, few folios, and I've got the great plan. I don't know, Julia, if you're listening, but I'm going to send it to you. So like, hey, Julia, please, Professor Stenzel, could you translate these few folios for us? That would be really great. And you see, like, it's kind of a chain reaction. You know, if Dawa didn't take the upon himself to teach the entire curriculum, I don't know when we would have come to that point saying like, what is this? You know? And then the eighth Karmapa instruction on compassion, vague. Then 2 days looking into it, then I found it. I found the text by the eighth Karmapa, which is cultivating compassion in 4 sessions. What you do first session of the day, second session, third, and so on. Guess what? Found it translated. You know, and then in the meantime, I found also a very interesting commentary on the practice of generosity by the eighth Karmapa. I had no idea that is, you know, the Dharma is so vast. I mean, I know some, but I don't know all for sure. And so that's the idea of maintaining your curiosity. If you think at some point like you settled yourself in a position of a knower, and then you're nowhere. You're not a knower, you're nowhere because you're stuck. And so that's how you keep your body path alive. You really want to understand more. You know, like uh, on the New Year's Eve when we were reciting the 35 Buddha Sutra. And as I was reading it, I was saying like, oh, that could be a teaching. I'm sure there are some people in the room that have no idea what this is, you know, and I keep thinking, oh, that would be another teaching. So I got a year full of teaching just by reading this sutra and thinking, oh, maybe there are some people who are new to this literature, because when was it last time I taught it in extenso? It was like 2005 or 6 or something. And I said, okay, well, I will propose, or I will let them come up and say, hey, what does it mean? The mandala of the universe, or the Tathagata, thus gone, Arahat, what does it mean? So that's the curiosity. That's how you keep your body path alive, the curiosity. You never settle, you never take what you know for granted, like it is the sum of all knowable things. And you keep digging, you keep exploring, and you expand. And then suddenly you start seeing things branching and connecting with other topics you knew. And you didn't see how they were related, and then it becomes to relate. And suddenly you have a network of information from different sources that will uh, sort of enrich each other. So that's how, in terms of practice, study, but also meditation, obviously, you keep your body path alive. That's really the TLC, you know, and more. And then the third aspect that we may lose touch with, because, you know, like the habits, that's the killer. Habits is a killer, you know, because we settle. It's the commitments we've taken at some point, whether formally or in our heart, formerly in the sense of taking refuge on the way to enlightenment in the Dharma as the path, the Sangha as the community of spiritual friends, or the ethical lifestyle that we have decided to embrace and preserving life and being honest and being frank and so on and so forth. And you know how we drift. Like 1st of January, we are all going on a diet and going to the gym twice a week, okay, until February, you know. And that's how the gym work. They sell you a year pass knowing that you will never come past February, you know. So that this point is very important also, keeping our commitment alive, you know. And um, like in a relationship, like you say after you ask some questions and you say I do, and then after that you don't. Or you forgot, you said like, me really sure I said that. Yeah, we even have witness and a video. So keep your commitments up to date. Like you update your computer, you update your apps, update your computer, your commitments, whatever they are, ethical, uh, spiritual on the way to enlightenment, altruistic commitment of bodhicitta, and so on and so forth. Make sure that they are still alive, and they are still they are driving your life, and that your life has not fallen in some sort of slumber again. So basically, keep your lamp trimmed and burning. That's how you keep your body path alive. Okay. And this being said, let's go back to our meditation. Through this merit, may I attain true omniscience, then having overcome all harmful destructive forces, may I liberate sentient beings from the ocean of existence and its turbulent waves of birth, old age, sickness, and death. May the most precious mind of awakening that has not yet dawned now rise. Once arisen, may it never decline. May it continue to increase evermore. Thank you all very much. Goodbye, universe. See you next week, same time, same channel. And Happy New Year, because we have changed, but we're always changing. Anyway.